And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here as always by the man who will never lock up Bo Nix again. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Felt like I had it there for a second, and then they couldn't get a stop at the end of the game.
Yeah, I was going to be so annoyed if your luck hit due to the overtime new rules where you can score 7 and covering the 6.5 point spread. It did not happen. Kyle, we just watched a crazy Sunday Night Football game. Let's just dive in. We have 16 games to discuss here tonight on the Sideline podcast. This game, I mean, it legitimately just ended moments before we came on live here. The Broncos survive. Say what you want about them. They continue to find ways to win football games.
They do continue to find ways to win. And, just an absolutely absurd game. This game was sitting at 2014, 2017. It felt like forever. And the Broncos had all of these opportunities after scoring to go up 20-14. It seems like it put the game away. Their defense really locked in at that point, and played really well in the second half, I thought, just overall after that first touchdown. And they got punt after punt after punt. They couldn't sustain a drive. Bo Nix throws that interception that leads to the field goal to make it 2017. Then it's just back and forth punting. And then all of a sudden, Washington gets one more chance to bring it down. And all of a sudden, they're right back in this, sending this to overtime. And, Denver got the drive they needed like 10 minutes prior, right? They got that big touchdown drive in overtime, give themselves the lead. It's still enough to get a win. It's just a really gutsy team, man. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it. I mean, they have a lot of these games this season, but there has to be something endearing about winning these sort of moments.
Yeah, well, they're certainly that. I mean, endearing, I suppose. I mean, I think listen, this defense is really good. This defense has another good performance. I think it's fair to say though, you do kind of need this is not a great win for the Broncos. It's a fun win, and it's okay to have some not great wins. You're not going to have great wins 17 weeks in a row, 17 games in a row. I also think that, we have seen this a little bit with the Broncos of them eking out. They barely beat the Raiders a couple of weeks ago as well. Bo Nix throws a bad interception in this game. He does have that weird thing where in overtime he leads this great drive and they're able to score a touchdown. So I guess I don't know fully what to make of this team, but it's hard to. I don't know. I just feel I keep feeling underwhelmed by them, even though they keep winning.
I mean, it's just one of those things. We do it a lot with Bo Nix just in general, but I think the team in general is frustrating on the offense side of the ball at times, where it's just so inconsistent. And the Bo Nix thing, I think, is just kind of he is the personification of what this all is. And it also it's because of the quarterback situation for sure. In the first drive of the game, they're talking about Chris Collinsworth is gushing about his different arm angles, his ability to throw on the run, all this different stuff Bo Nix can do. And he makes some really good throws early on. And then immediately after he says all these nice things about him, he has a screen pass that he throws into the shoelaces of his guy that's 5 yards from him on the screen. And it's just that's the thing that just kills me sometimes when I watch him. It's yes, there are some fantastic plays done by Bo Nix week after week after week. He has some fantastic creativity, fantastic throws downfield, all this stuff. But I also think he misses a lot that would easily help this Broncos team win this game by double digits if they're able to focus in the second half of this game and put this team away when they had the opportunity.
Yeah, but again, I do think this fit as much as we're critiquing Bo Nix in this offense, which can be very frustrating at times, the defense deserves equal as much praise. And I do think that if the Broncos win the Super Bowl, it's going to be on the strength of this defense, even if it did kind of get gassed a little bit towards the end there. What's the ceiling of this Broncos team?
I mean, I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird that we talk about this stuff because I don't know. I came to the realization because everyone wants to pick apart the Patriots. Everyone the Colts are now everyone's fraud alert team. We talk about this Broncos team like they're begging to, lose every game, which, I mean, if you look at their 9-game win streak, it's a 1-point win in overtime, a 3-point win over Kansas City, a 3-point win over the Raiders, a 3-point win over the Texans when Davis Mills had to come into the game. They blew out the Cowboys. They had a 1-point win to the Giants, a 2-point win to the Jets, a 4-point win to the Eagles, and then they blew out the Bengals. So this team is getting by the skin of its teeth in a lot of these games. But people are ready to critique the Patriots, the Colts, the Broncos, the Chargers are falling apart at times. The Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence, all this other stuff. What if none of these teams are good? That's the question. What if just nobody's good in the AFC and they're all just kind of pretty good teams? Then, in my opinion, if everyone's just solid and everyone's inconsistent, then any one of these teams can make the Super Bowl. I could probably name 8 teams that I can realistically see make the Super Bowl at this point in the AFC. Are they in the Super Bowl? I don't know. But also, like we just said, the Rams were the undisputed best team in football, and we're going to talk about them in a second. They didn't have a great week either. So, maybe it's all still up for grabs. 5 games to go. I still feel like we're learning a lot about these teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this team can go far. I just think they need more. There's going to be a game where they need Bo Nix to show up for 4 quarters. And that's just, I think, what's going to happen. But hey, again, gutsy win, especially if they're trying to. I think what would help is if they get the 1 seed. This was a very important win for them to try and make that happen. Commanders, give them a lot of credit for fighting here. They're 3-8 entering the game. The loss doesn't matter. Some people are talking about the going for 2. I think that's the also thoughts, Kyle, not wanting my thoughts, only your thoughts. So I won't say anything. Kyle, go ahead. Do you think they should have gone for 2 there?
I mean, the math says yes, right? Like you're giving yourself a 50% chance to win the game, or you're kicking a ball back to your opponent in a tie game where the high probability of them getting in field goal range for a Will Lutz field goal is, higher than 50% chance. So yeah, I mean, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Go for it. Go for the win. Especially, I mean, like, look, you're 3-8. Just go for wins. Like, it's okay. Like, we don't care beyond that. But interesting game overall, though. I thought at times this defense did play pretty well at times. And the offense, like for all the things we just praised about the Broncos defense, they did get gas at times, like you said. But they had 295 yards passing. They had 4.3 yards per carry. I mean, Mariota is gonna. I know he's 32, but he is going to be in this league for a good number of years still as a backup quarterback. He still can bring it on his best day and be a suitable player in a good system.
Yeah. Does he have maybe like a Ryan Fitzpatrick late career arc in him?
Just start passing around teams. Maybe he needs the beard. That's the question.
Yeah, I think you need a thing. Yeah, probably. Kyle, we have a ton to get to, so let's move on here. We'll probably get into the Thursday and Friday games a little bit earlier than we usually do, just because there's a lot of them and a lot of intrigue. But let's start off with the upset of the day, the one you've already alluded to. How about Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers trying to keep pace in the tough NFC South? Everyone says toughest division in football. Panthers being able to defeat the team that we were all talking about as a potential champion. Matthew Stafford had 2 interceptions entering the day. He ends up with 2 interceptions in this game. One was kind of a fluky tip pass play. Another was a pick 6, though. Stafford, fun fact, is currently Brett Favre holds the record for most pick 6s in his career with 32. Stafford is now 1 behind with 31. So that's a record he could catch at some point in his career. Ultimately, even with all of that, the Rams found themselves down 3 points in field goal range. Stafford fumbles. The Panthers able to run out the clock in large part due to some clutch plays from Bryce Young here. Over 10 yards per attempt. The running game was solid in this game, not great. Really good pass protection, and Jalen Coker with a great game in this one. Their leading receiver. Kyle, where do you want to start off here?
Did the Panthers did something happen when they defeated the Falcons the last 3 times that they just became the Falcons? It's like you just inherit the skills of what you destroy, basically.
Like Kirby?
Because yeah, essentially, yeah. I just it's incredible what this team is and isn't at times. Like this team, the last 4 weeks are basically the last 6 weeks, honestly, are the perfect description of what this team is. They get blown out by the Bills. They grind out a game against the Packers. They lose to the Saints in a pretty embarrassing fashion. And then they meet the Falcons, who had come off a big win at that point, beat the Falcons, and then look pretty lifeless against the 49ers, and then go out and beat the Rams. This team just back week after week just doesn't make any sense. For all the criticisms we said of Bryce Young after that Monday night game when they really needed him, Boy, did he show up in this game. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was really good in this game. I thought he really worked these receivers well. Like you said, Jalen Coker, obviously when they made that Adam Thielen trade, which I still kind of disagree with, even though he hasn't done much this year, I think the plan was for Jalen Coker to kind of fill in that role as that kind of receiver, and then he got hurt. So it was great to see him go out and have a good game like this. Ted McMillan with the big touchdown. I mean, all that stuff put together. I thought Bryce Young played a fantastic football game in this one, and I think he deserves his credit. And I think Carolina across the board deserve credit for being able to go up against a team that looked unbeatable the last few weeks.
Yeah, this receiving core is so weird with Carolina because there are games where I'm like, this is like not even like there are not NFL players out here. Like this is like no one is even at the point where they can get like an ounce of separation. And then there's games like this where it's like, oh no, now like Jalen Coker is making a bunch of plays. And that's kind of what they need. It feels like if they can just get that receiving core down, maybe we'll see more of these types of Bryce Young performances and less of last week's Bryce Young performances. Matthew Stafford is good for every year having a few games like this. It's been weird that it hasn't happened yet, which is kind of why he got put in the MVP conversation. But I feel like this is kind of who we expect from Stafford. Like he's a guy who's going to trust his receivers. You saw with that great Puka Nacua catch, which was maybe the catch of the year, even though it was ended in a loss. Like he's going to put the ball in harm's way at times, and sometimes it's gonna go wrong. I mean, again, one of the turnovers wasn't his fault. The other two kind of were. Derek Brown made a great play on that fumble. He's a great player, but ultimately, like, I don't know. This is what we expect. I don't think that this should take Matthew Stafford out of the MVP discussion. I feel like that's kind of a thing that happens is we say this guy's the MVP and then they have a bad game. And it's like, okay, well now who's next is MVP? Maybe you disagree because that would mean Drake May's the guy. But then if he has a bad game, now we have to give it to I don't know, Daniel Jones again or something.
Well, look, an award that goes over an 18-game sample should not, or a 17-game sample should not be decided by 1 week or not. Right. That's just the truth. So this is Stafford. I think the frustrating thing with Stafford in this game was, like, yes, we have seen this version of Stafford before where he's a great player when the lights are brightest, but there is inconsistencies there. This is his first really, like, he had another shaky game, I think, earlier in the year, but this was his first really, like, bad game. And yes, like you said, one of the turnovers was fluky, but I do think it was a bad Stafford game. And I do think a ton of credit should go to the Carolina Panthers defensive game plan in this one. I thought they covered really well in this game. They abandoned the run defense altogether, which actually turned out to be the right strategy, even though they got gashed on the ground. They abandoned it altogether. And, we just have an expectation of like guys on the Rams getting open all the time because they usually are. And even like Nacua in this game, for as great of a route runner as he is, didn't feel as open all the time. The pick six was the pass to him that was really well covered. I mean, like you said, he made a fantastic catch, but that was also great coverage too that required that great catch. So I thought they did a really good job covering in the secondary in this game and making some big plays, but it also led to a lot of mistakes from Stafford in this one.
Yeah, and that's not at full strength too, right? I mean, you don't have multiple players in your secondary. I mean, that's impressive by what the Panthers were able to do. Kyle, I want to hear your thoughts. Gun to your head. So the Panthers are 7-6. They have the Saints, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers twice to end the season. Not in that order, but that's the four teams. The Buccaneers play the Saints, Falcons, Dolphins, along with the Panthers twice. The Buccaneers would have the tiebreaker, so the Panthers have to make up a game, and the Buccaneers have a half game ahead. Who do you think will win the NFC South?
Well, if Panthers win both, they have the tiebreaker, right?
Yes, that's the one scenario they would have the tiebreaker. Other than that, Tampa Bay would have it. There is technically another scenario, but it would take a lot to happen. So realistically, unless the Panthers sweep, the Buccaneers would have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, there is the obvious element of I think Tampa Bay has the easier schedule of other teams down the stretch. Panthers do play the Saints and the Seahawks. Falcons, Saints, and Dolphins feels a little more manageable there for Tampa Bay. So I think I would lean Tampa in that scenario. I think that they get their way to 10 wins where it, could go either way, I think, with Carolina in that regard. But Carolina knows that they still have a bit of controlling their own destiny. They beat the Buccaneers twice. They're putting themselves in a great position to obviously win the division that way. But knowing what this team has been the last 6 weeks and what they did against the Saints earlier in the season after coming off a huge win over the Packers, I mean, we could probably expect on the 14th that they lose that game to the Saints. So we'll see.
Sure. Ultimately, I think it comes down to what probably will end up happening is if it's a split, the Buccaneers will make it. If the Panthers can sweep, then they will make it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. I think Panthers definitely have to view those 2 games as their biggest games of the year. And I think Tampa's situation is a lot more manageable. Like I said, I think Tampa should win the other 3 games. And at that point, I mean, Carolina could sweep them still and still not make the playoffs at that point, depending on how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, it is. That is an outcome. But I think winning this game means that a sweep would mean that they make the playoffs. They control their own destiny now, which they wouldn't have had they lost. So big game. Well, we're talking about it, so let's just go there. Let's talk the Bucs here, who pull off a win. We won't have to spend forever on this game. I know that I'm probably the main person who cares about this one. The Buccaneers pull off a win. Again, not the most impressive victory, a 3-point win against a 3-win team in a game where the Cardinals did miss a field goal. So don't love that. Timely penalties called back some big plays, including some not great calls by the refs, but ultimately that's the way it goes. Some drop passes. Godwin, who was all the way back in this game, Godwin had a great game. Did have a drop pass in the end zone though. Igbuka had a couple of catches he wasn't able to come down from in this one. So like a little bit more from that. Apparently Mike Evans might be back as soon as next week, which is kind of crazy. But this defense had a really rough tackling performance. Ultimately did play well though. Outside of that, Brissett, there were multiple long drives that the Cardinals had that it looked like they were going to make something happen and turn the ball over both times. That was kind of a big part of it. Cardinals are a team that beats themselves, which is why the record is what it is, even though they have talent. But yeah, those are kind of my quick thoughts on the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a competitive game, and obviously Cardinals with the late score made it a little interesting. I mean, look, I think, I thought Trey McBride was unbelievable in this game. I know you've been raving about him for a few weeks now. I thought he was really he was the problem for this entire game, it felt like. It felt like every time they needed a big play, he was coming up with it. He gets the late score that makes it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I think Tampa did – this is – you look at the records and say this is an ugly win, but this is still a team that I believe – my prediction was obviously wrong on the Cardinals preseason, but this is still a team I believe is actually talented. Mm-hmm. And I think that they cause problems for teams. I mean, this is a team with multiple good pass catchers. They have a, stable offensive system, even when they're down starting running back and starting quarterback. And then the defense, I think, still has plenty of guys. Josh Sweat came up with a couple big sacks in this game. There is still speed there. I thought they caused some problems, defended the run well. Like you said, the mistakes were the big thing for the Cardinals, and they made 3 big mistakes that cost them the game.
Yeah. It does feel like the Cardinals could be potentially maybe a team that next year takes a jump. Although, again, we kind of thought that was going to be the case this year, and it didn't happen. So we'll see. I don't know, Kyle. Trey McBride might have to bump up to top 6 on my player rankings.
Top 6. I did actually look today because I was curious, because that NFL 100 thing, apparently he debuted on the list this season. He was ranked 65.
Okay, that's too low. Yeah, that's bad.
There is no one ranked right on that list. That's the problem. Like, well,
it's the players list. Like people think it's like some deep thing. Like they just give the players a clipboard and ask them to write 10 guys, and so they just like think of 10 guys off the top of their head, and that's what makes the list. Like it's not like people aren't taking this seriously that are making the list.
Is that really what they do? They just have to name 10?
Yeah, they just have the players it's a clipboard. Write 10 names down, and so then people be like, I don't know. Terry McLaurin made the catch today. I guess I got to throw him on.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
That's how Tyreek Hill can be number 1 2 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's a bit much. So I don't know. It was he's a little low. That's what I would say. I think that he should be much, much higher. He was very good.
Bucky Irving had a touchdown. That was fun to see him back. Any final thoughts? You're ready to move on?
No, I'm good. I mean, this was still a good win for Tampa. I know, like you said, it was a bit of a struggle, but like this team needed to get back on the right foot. Even if this wasn't a must-have game, it felt kind of must-have-y just because this team needed to find its footing again.
Yeah,
and then Carolina.
had been over a month since they had won a game. So got to get back on the win column.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, let's move on here. Where do we want to go? I'm trying to think of. Well, I guess well, let's do Bills Steelers just because I think this one is interesting, and then maybe we'll get into some of the Thursday and Friday games. A game that for a while was close. In fact, the Steelers had a 7-3 lead at the half. Very early on in the third quarter, all hell broke loose with Aaron Rodgers, getting sacked and fumbling the football on a Joey Bosa play. Ultimately, the Bills recover it and return it for a touchdown. Rodgers gets banged up on the play. And what happens is, since Rodgers is banged up, he needs to get checked out in the blue medical tent. Usually, if it's a turnover, well, at least you can, have some time. But since it was a defensive touchdown, offense goes right back out there. Mason Rudolph goes out there and just looks so bad. He was just a complete disaster. 0 for 3 with an interception in the game. That's not ideal. Which gives the Bills the ball back. The Bills score a touchdown there, and that just kind of completely, blew the game open, which was close for a while. Ultimately, though, this Steelers offense was not good at all in this game. 166 total yards. Bills defense plays well. Usually you expect the Bills defense to not play well in run defense. They had a good game here. Is that more about the Steelers than the Bills? Possibly. Still think the Steelers have a chance in this division, just given how open it is, but definitely not an inspiring win right now.
I mean, look, the two teams are 6-6, and they play each other twice. So,
and there's a third team got to talk about too.
Yeah, I was going to get to that too. Yeah, I mean that's exactly it at this point. So yeah, I think that it's a it's still there for the taking for the Steelers. They know the path in front of them. Man, this team, I could not be less enthused by this team. I mean, they did everything right in the first half as far as the defense goes. I've criticized this defense a lot this year, but they just have an unbelievable knack for taking away the football. And even in plays where like James Cook hits his knee with the ball and drops it, they still manage to recover the ball. Like they just do this over and over and over again. There is a sixth sense about this team that they just get the ball. Even when they're not good defensively. So they did it again in this game. And all that being said, they did all that stuff in the first half and we're up 7-3. And like you said, then it obviously flips the other way. You get the turnover, the defensive touchdown, and then it just felt like that was it. James Cook did whatever he wanted in this game. He was amazing. They actually covered, I thought, pretty well for this Buffalo passing attack, which just does not look good without Dalton Kincaid out there. Which again is a big problem for the Bills, that you're relying this heavily on Dalton Kincaid to run your passing attack. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I think overall, like I'm not really enthused by either of these teams, but the Bills defense did come alive in this game. They played well, and they got a much needed win to stay in the conversation for the division. Yeah,
this was a game where Tony Romo kept just being like, that's the same running play again. Same running play again, Jim. Just doing the same thing. And it's like that's just kind of what the Bills were doing. It's just the same thing over and over again. And why not if the Steelers can't stop it? So yeah, I mean, like it's not ideal here for Buffalo, but like it's hard to critique this too much. I mean, it was a struggle for the first half, and then it's like, okay, what adjustments are they going to make? Oh, now you're up like 2 scores. Like, don't make any adjustments. Just run the ball and kill the clock. They did have a really nice drive towards the end where it felt like they killed like almost the entire fourth quarter towards the end of this game. So I don't know. Like I don't think we've learned too much about the Bills, but it's an important win they still got to make sure they get into the playoffs, right? So they still have the Browns and the Jets on the schedule. So and I think they'll have a chance in those other 3 games too. So not like they have too much to worry about, but an important win here.
An important win for sure. And like you said, they stay in front of Houston at that point. You got the 3 wild card teams right now in the AFC at 8-4. You got Houston at 7-5, and then you got Kansas City at 6-6, and you got Pittsburgh and Baltimore at 6-6, battling for division and also the wild card. And then you got the Bengals slowly sitting back there at 4-8 with Joe Burrow back, making things a little interesting. And I didn't forget Miami, friend. The Dolphins are 5-7, still in the hunt. So, all that being said, this AFC still feels. I mean, it's still incredibly talented division, conference or I mean, it's still an incredibly deep conference, and there's still going to be multiple good teams here missing the playoffs. And right now we got on the outside Houston and Kansas City, and also Pittsburgh after this loss.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to those other two teams in this division, the Bengals and the Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens could not stop turning the ball over in this game. It was in part Lamar. It was not just Lamar, though. 5 turnovers, which I believe ties how many the Cincinnati Bengals defense had generated all season up until this point. So that's not great. Turn the ball over 5 times. Probably not going to win. There was even a situation where the Bengals were up 2 scores with like 5 minutes left. I believe was what the final score. Wait, yeah, it was. They were up. No, they were up 2 scores with 5 minutes left, and the Bengals fumble. So it's like, okay, maybe the Ravens have a chance, and then Zay Flowers fumbles, and it's like, no, they don't. So that was an issue. Couldn't stay out of their way that way. But Joe Burrow, who's got off to a bit of a slow start, which he's kind of known to do when he has a big break, made some real nice plays in the second half. And ultimately, the Cincinnati Bengals team at 4-8. I mean, you're looking at the schedule now and saying, okay, to play the Bills next week, that's going to be tough. But you play the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns to end the season. Again, Ravens are a team you just beat. The Bills are a team that kind of had the number historically. 5-0 is not out of the question. 4-1 is not guaranteed to cause them to miss the playoffs, even with a below 500 record, given their division. So they are a team we have to pay attention to now.
They are a team we have to pay attention to, and if they do win next week, I think there is a real possibility if they manage to win these next 2 games, because they should win their last 3 games after that. I mean, not anything in life's guaranteed, especially in the NFL, as we've seen this week. But if they can get through these next 2 games with wins, all of a sudden that's wide open, I think, for sure. I don't know if they're going to get it under 500, but we've seen crazier things happen. Like you said, the 2 teams are 6-6 right now. Offense, I thought, looked terrific in this game, as it usually does. Burrow, like you said, a bit of a slow start, came alive in the second half. Him, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, those guys I thought looked really good. And then the Ravens on the other side. I mean, I'm not going to panic too much, just because, I don't know how many times they turned the ball over twice inside the 20-yard line, a few other times throughout the game too. I think they actually moved the ball okay at times, but I just feel like we always say this about the Ravens sometimes. How many times have we? I feel like if there was a stat for turning the ball over at the 1-yard line, they would lead the league in it. Lead in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like the last 20 years, whenever there's a dumb play at the 1-yard line, they're involved somehow, some way. And it's just they manage to do these things to themselves a lot of times in these big moments. But look, I mean, they're winning their division at the end of the day. But I mean, this team is far from convincing as far as a division champion goes. So yeah, I'm not going to panic because they are winning that division. But I don't know what my future holds for Baltimore this season at this point.
I'll do a little panicking, I think. 6-6. You're tied with the division, but you played the Steelers twice, the Bengals, who you just lost to, and then the Patriots and the Packers. Those are 2 good teams. So I don't know. I mean, this team has work to do to make the playoffs right now. I mean, I think this is not a good game to let slip through your fingers. And you're right. It's that Isaiah Likely fumbling at the goal line thing. It just feels like the Ravens continuously do this stuff and find ways to lose games in these moments.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just backbreaking turnovers. It really is. It feels like those moments hit them a lot and hit them hard. But yeah, I mean, look, they still have, if they win those 3 division games, they are going to win their division and they're going to make the playoffs. And it's one of those things again where you say, if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance.
Sure.
But they do not have to win those games, and they just showed that beating the Bengals is not going to be a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah, the winner of that division probably will end up. I think there's a good chance plays the Bills as well, depending on how things break down in that first matchup. Which that would be quite the first matchup. If it's Ravens Bills, a rematch of Week 1. But yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. A very fun December in the AFC North, as it usually is.
Usually is, but it feels like it's for all the wrong reasons now. Usually we're hyping up one of these teams as a contender, that kind of thing. And, I think these teams are interesting and also not interesting at the same time. I'm not looking at like these teams as playing like late January football.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe January Joe. Not, and I'm not talking about Flacco. I'm talking about his teammate, Joe Burrow. Could make it happen. It'll be interesting to see.
If the Bengals run the table, would you pick them to win multiple playoff games? I mean, probably.
I don't think it's impossible. Again, we're talking about the AFC. It's like that's so many teams. It's like I guess I can picture a scenario where the Bengals can go on a deep playoff run. Like it was the same thing last year, right? Where it's like if Joe Burrow's red hot going into the playoffs, like maybe. Like I wouldn't pick them, I think, to beat any playoff team outright, but like I wouldn't say they couldn't.
Yeah, no, it's not impossible. It's just been such a weird season with some of our supposed AFC powers now really reeling, if you will.
Yeah. Speaking of one of those, the Kansas City Chiefs losing this one. Still not dead yet. There still is a chance they can make the playoffs. They do have a lot of winnable games still on the schedule, but this was a game that we looked at as a winnable game, playing the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Mahomes does have 4 touchdown passes in this game. There were still some like timely penalties that hurt this team and things of that nature offensively. Also, their defense got torched by, admittedly, an offense that's torching everybody right now. But the Dallas Cowboys win and prove to 6-5-1, which is a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs, who fall to 6-6.
Absolutely insane game. This was the game of Thanksgiving, I thought. Both teams played really well offensively, and Cowboys played better. I mean, it's just simple as that. I thought Dak Prescott was amazing in this game. Mahomes was amazing too. I mean, Mahomes has, I mean, they both, at this point, both of these quarterbacks should have this expectation of performance equally. Obviously, Mahomes is better, but we just have these expectations from these two guys. And what we've seen, I mean, this Pickens and Lamb duo it's insane right now. I mean, they win every battle on the outside. And even if they don't win, George Pickens is huge and he's going to go up and get it over your cornerback. Mm-hmm. So it's incredible to see that. I thought they were both really great. I thought Kansas City's offense looked really good in this game, but there was some of the worst drops ever, right? Like that really felt like the game at that point. There were some really costly drops in this game that really set them back, and Dallas was able to pull it out. And, you know, we were ready to write off this Dallas team. This defense was abysmal. I mean, the last 3 weeks, this team has played, if you would do just a power rankings off of form, the last 3 weeks, this has been a top 10 team in the NFL. And they're not out of the playoff picture yet. They're still in the mix. They're right there. They need a lot of help because of what San Francisco and Seattle and Green Bay are doing. So it's going to take a miracle still at this point. But Dallas looks formidable. And if they make the playoffs, we'll see what they look like in the playoffs because that's always been Dallas's issue. But if they can find a way to make it, this team does not look like a fun team to play against right now. Yeah,
and I'll say this too. I mean, Thursday night against the Lions in Detroit, that's a full week because they played the Thanksgiving games. It's kind of that weird thing there. If they can win that game, I think they have a real shot at making it because they're going to be favored in their next 4. So it is not out of the question whatsoever. I think beating Detroit is the biggest hurdle now for them. It probably would have been out of the question had they lost. So a huge win. Yeah, I mean this Chiefs team, it does feel like if they can just get it together. I still don't think this is a horrible team. I still feel like there is the talent here. I mean, it's worth mentioning a ton of offensive line injuries. Or their offensive line just isn't as good. Not a ton of, but like they are missing the right tackle, Trey Smith. Like that hurts, and they already don't have a great left tackle situation. They don't. Personally, they don't have a. They say tackle. They're missing the right guard, Trey Smith. They also don't have a great left guard situation. Those things matter. And I think like especially for these penalties, it's like. You need things to be clean here. This is a whole team. This team is entirely built upon being able to generate a 6-yard gain on any given play, and they're just not doing that right now.
Yeah, a lot of holes on this team for sure. And as great as their top end talent is, football may be the only sport outside of soccer that I consider soccer the ultimate weak link sport. Your sport is still your team is still only as strong as your weakest link. Football, I think, minimizes some of that because in the modern game, I think star players are more important, but I still think it is a weak link sport at its core. And we've just seen this team punished As far as like they overcome a lot because they have the top end talent, and that's why they made the Super Bowl last year, because they weren't the best team in the AFC last year. We said it all year that we thought this team lacked something, and then they got blown out in the Super Bowl, but they managed to win all those games into the Super Bowl, and that, you know, is endearing enough as it is. This team lacks a lot. And, you know, Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes and Rashae Rice and, you know, the moments that Travis Kelce can still bring a lot. Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, but like Trey Smith is down, like you said. They trade Joe Thuney, which looks worse and worse by the week, honestly. Mm-hmm. So all that put together, like Kansas City just has too many holes, it feels like right now. But that being said, they're still the boogeyman of the AFC. And if they make it, they still have a shot. But I mean, they're running out of opportunities because they're 6-6 now. They're 2 games back of a wild card spot as it is. So they basically have to win out. And I mean, that Colts win becomes hugely important to what they need to do at this point. Mm-hmm. I mean, how big was that comeback at this point after seeing this week? They play the Texans next. And I mean, I got to say, that's probably as bad of a matchup as you can get for Kansas City right now with what they're dealing with all their injuries with their injuries on the offensive line. With what that Texans team does, with that coverage unit, that's going to be a really hard game, I think, for them to win. But if they're going to have that championship mantra, that championship pedigree, that's going to be something that they have to go do, because I think they're out if they lose it. I just do. I think that the way they would not have the tiebreaker to Houston, Buffalo, or Los Angeles, or Jacksonville if it came to that. And I think all of those teams get to 10 wins. So if they are at 7 losses, they're out at that point. They're not jumping all those teams.
Yeah, I think there is. The only thing I would just throw out there is I think there's a scenario where the Chargers and the Colts both could fall down. I think that's the one, and they do have the tiebreaker over the Colts. So I think that's the one way I could still say. But I mean, if they can maybe lose one more game as to where they're at. They can't lose more than one, and they might not be able to lose one.
Yeah. I mean, there's still the possibility, but that would mean those teams would have to basically finish the season 1-4. And that's still, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's still, you know, an unlikely thing.
Well, but because if the Chiefs, let's say they lose next week, but then they win out, that puts them at 10-7. I don't know who would have the tiebreaker with the Chargers in that scenario. But the Chiefs have the tiebreaker over the Colts.
Yeah, so they'd have it over the Colts. The big thing is the Chargers, because they won another division game today. They would basically, I mean, who know what the Broncos are playing for week 18? Because if they win that Broncos game week 18, they won't have the tiebreaker because the Chargers will have it on division record.
Well, but this is for a wild card, so it wouldn't the division record wouldn't be the tiebreaker there.
Is it not the second tiebreaker still?
It's for the division. It is for a wild card spot. It's not. I'm doing the math though. The Chargers would still have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, even with what we're saying though. So Chargers will have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So you would need them to go 1-4, and then it's a lot. You're right. Really, Chiefs need to win out.
Yeah, and I mean, Chargers do have the toughest schedule down the stretch, so it's not it's not.
I don't think 1-4 is impossible. Yeah.
I mean, they play the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos, and like we said, this Cowboys team right now is right back in the mix. So fascinating stuff for sure. But yeah, Kansas City feels like it's on the brink at this point for sure. And then the Cowboys, like I said, it's still an uphill battle because they still need someone. You know, they could jump the Lions this week with the win, and I don't think that's an impossibility at all. I think they're playing much better football than Detroit right now, but they're going to need one of San Francisco, Green Bay, or Seattle, or Chicago still somehow. That's the number 1 seed in the NFC. They need somebody to fall down from that group, and it just feels like that's going to be a tough ask, but this team's playing good. And you know what? If they make the playoffs, we talked about MVP candidates, Dak Prescott's name's got to be back in the mix again.
Yeah, I agree. It should be in the mix even if they don't make the playoffs. That shouldn't be the deciding factor, but that's not a world we're going to live in. Maybe our grandkids, Kyle, but not us. Let's move on. Let's talk about a team that you brought up, the Lions, losing to the Packers. Kyle, I said last week, in my head, I keep feeling like there are 8 teams that are going to make the playoffs in the NFC, and that's not how it works. In my head, it'll be the NFC South winner, then also the Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, the Bears, Packers, and Lions, and the Eagles. But that's too many. And now the Cowboys, I'm like, maybe they make it in. We can't have 9 playoff teams, can't have 8 playoff teams. Is it just the Lions that are going to fall out here?
I mean, it's trending that way now. They are out as you speak. I mean, it's just one of those. It feels like a weird like it's a very rare football season where it feels like there's 17 playoff teams. There's not a great team, but it feels like there's 17 playoff teams between the conferences, and only 14 are going to make it. And we have to keep reminding ourselves that because this team, like this, in a vacuum, this game wasn't bad. Like they kept it close throughout. They had a 4th down conversion, down 10, that they could have converted to have an opportunity. But ultimately, I just think the Packers played better. And I think they're a more cohesive unit. And I came away from this game thinking that the Packers are just a better football team. And they looked like it again. And, they went and got a guy like Micah Parsons, who made a huge impact in this game, I thought. And I thought just overall, they just played better from start to finish. And, I know Detroit got the field goal to make it a 7-point game, but it felt like the Packers were just kind of in control for large portions of this game.
Yeah, and even when it was the most precarious when they went for it there at the end, they're able to convert. And I mean, they went for it on 4th downs consistently. Matt LaFleur's kind of done that a lot. It's one of the downsides of being the Dan Campbell, where you're kind of the guinea pig for going for it all the time. Like, you're successful and you get kind of that 1st or 2nd year where it helps you. And now teams have kind of caught up to it's actually a good idea to maybe go for it when like there's a bunch of data suggesting that you should go for it. And ultimately the going for it works for the Packers. They go 3 for 3 and it fails for the Lions. They go 0 for 2. And that was, something that was talked about where they could have made it a 1-score game, decided to go for it. Again, you live by the 4th down conversion, you die by the 4th down conversions. But to me, I think the biggest difference was, like Jameson Williams drops that pass on 4th down, and he had a great game. You can't blame him for this loss. But like the Packers, again, who was the number 1 receiver? I don't know, but all these guys were just making plays. Today it was, or on Thursday it was Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson.
Yeah, Dontavian Wicks had that big touchdown too after the controversial timeout. No timeout. Was it a fair timeout thing with the false start? Yeah. So I thought that was I think a lot of these guys step up for Green Bay. Like you said, the receiving core kind of shows up when they need to. And then I thought Jordan Love played really well in this game. Yeah. Excellently, honestly. And that was a big throw on that 4th down too, where he's getting hit, still gets it to his receiver, gives him a chance to make that play. So really good stuff overall from Green Bay. Really a complete game. I thought offense, defense, and special teams all played a part in this game. And, you give your best players an opportunity to make plays at the end of the games, and that's exactly what Jordan Love did. That's what Micah Parsons did in this game, and that was the difference.
Yeah. Packers have a bit of a tough schedule too, so this is the big win. Playing the next 4 games are the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears again, and then the Ravens, who could be desperate. So big win for them. Lions have some work to do. I brought up that Thursday night game. That's not a fully a loser leaves town game, but kind of has that feel of a playoff game.
It is, yeah, it is a big one. I think it probably is loser leaves townish. Yeah. Like, I mean, if the Lions lose that, they're 2 games behind San Francisco at that point, with 4 to go. In Dallas, I think you could probably stick a fork in Dallas at that point at 6-1.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's technically there could still be a scenario, but like you need to win that one. So let's move on, Kyle. So we got through the Thursday games, but there was an interesting Friday game we have to talk about as well. How about the Chicago Bears? So I have this take for the 1 seed in the conference. I think they might be good. I think I've come up to the realization this week is I think they actually might just be good at football.
Let me check the point differential to confirm.
Point differential is +6.
We're in the positive now, so there we go.
It's the same as their wins. Their wins is +6, and their point differential is +6.
Hey, if you win every game by 1 point, that is still a win. That's all that matters. And I mean, there's a whole lot to talk about. Obviously, with the Philadelphia offense, it just feels broken at this point. Jalen Hurts has not played well this season. The offensive line has not played well this season. They can't block for Saquon Barkley anymore. But the other side of this is Chicago, where the defense plays really well. They run rampant on this. We spent the last few weeks talking about this Philadelphia defensive line after the trade deadline looking really just impossible to beat at times, and they ran it down their throats. I mean, Kyle Monaghan had 130 yards. DeAndre Swift had 125 yards, both well over 5 yards per carry, almost 6 yards per carry, 280 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns in an absolutely dominant performance by the Bears running game and their offensive line. This very expensive new built offensive line this season really feels like it's coming into their own and really establishing an identity for this Bears offense and what they want to do.
Yeah, they're such a weird team because you keep looking back at the schedule and seeing like all of these weird games. The Bengals game was a weird game. The Giants game was a weird game. They almost lost to JJ McCarthy a second time. They had that weird Commanders game, but at the same time, like, there's something we talked about entering the year is you got Ben Johnson, who runs a very different scheme than what the Bears are used to. You have basically 5 offensive linemen who have never played together because you have the 2 tackles who have played together, but they're far enough away that that's not too helpful. I think it's possible. The running game wasn't great to start the year, and it's gotten better. Now it's gotten to where it is really good, and it's like, it's possible it just took them 2/3 of a season to kind of get this down, and now they have it down, right? Like I think the Bears team week 3 wasn't a great team. I think this Bears team now, do I have them winning the Super Bowl? I don't know about that, but I think that there is a lot of things that they do well now. I'm willing to kind of buy into this Chicago Bears team.
Yeah, I mean, look, like at the end of the day, when people want to say fraud on the team that's 9-3, I mean, like you can't convince yourself of it. I mean, like, yes, there's going to be your occasional. This team's probably closer to the 2022 Vikings than it is the 2024 Eagles as far as 1 seeds go, right? Or whatever the year was for that Vikings team. But yeah, they're probably closer to that. But at the same time, like, I don't think that Vikings team actually stunk either. I think that they won the games, rightfully so. And yeah, they lost in the playoffs, but it's the NFL, that happens. And so, yeah, I don't think they've faked this at all. I think that they have still holes on their team. I mean, they didn't pass the ball well in this game. Caleb Williams is under the Blaine Gabbert zone, even 4.3 yards per attempt. He did have the big touchdown pass to Cole Kmet, which was really nice. But yeah, I mean, they find ways to win, and they find solutions to problems. When the game that they didn't have their passing game going, they couldn't connect downfield, they're able to transition straight into a run game and run the ball 47 times and absolutely gas the Philadelphia defense, which felt like it couldn't be run on for a lot of the season.
Yeah, I still think there's it's fair to have some concerns about this defense. Like, I think that is reasonable. Although they do get like Jalen Jones back, like that's Jalen Johnson back. That's a big deal for them. So like, once he gets more in the lineup, could that fix some of this defense? I think it's possible. Kevin Byard seems to get an interception like every game. I get it. There is concerns about a defense that relies on takeaways. What happens when you play a team that protects the football in the playoffs? Well, they just played a team that's going to be in the playoffs that's known for protecting the football, and guess what? They got turnovers. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think the Bears, just because they've won in some weird ways, doesn't mean they're a bad team. And I think they're only getting better is kind of my take with them. It's like, I look at some of these teams and I say, well, that week 4 loss was a bad one. Like, what happened there? I think like there are teams that are different now than they were back then. And I think the Bears are one of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they are definitely in that conversation. Like I said, I think the biggest thing and the biggest credit to this coaching staff too, and Ben Johnson, should be this team's ability to adjust to what their opponent is giving them. Because like I said, it seems like week after week, they are finding solutions to their problems, and that's why they're winning football games.
The Eagles, how is this happening again? So 3 years ago, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, lost a close game to the Kansas City Chiefs. Then 2 years ago, their defense was horrible all year. Their offense was actually very good to start the year. It cooled off a bit. They completely collapsed. They ended up getting knocked out round 1 against Tampa Bay. Then last year, they win the Super Bowl. Now this year, it's the opposite. It's the offense is cold all season, and it feels like once the defense gives up a little bit, now it's starting to flip the other way. Feels like the Eagles are trying to collapse yet again here, which, Kyle, does this mean that the Eagles are going to lose the division and the Buccaneers are going to beat them in round 1 of the playoffs again?
I mean, it's looking like a possibility at this point. I don't know about losing the division now, but
I mean, it's a game and a half ahead of Dallas. Like, it's not I mean, if they do now, they have games that they should win. So, but like, it's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean it's not. But this team definitely has its issues. This offensive line just not playing well this season. I mean, we've seen the conversations about the offensive coordinator throughout the season, and there hasn't been changes made. I mean, like this team just I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
What a rush that was. I mean, this team just feels kind of broken. Like, I mean, everything we expect from this team, they just don't do well anymore. They turn the ball over in this game. They don't run the ball well. This team is known historically for, like being good on 3rd and 4th and shorts. They're not really good on those anymore. They were 4 and 12 on 3rd down in this game. And like the Saquon Barkley thing, everyone said praise running backs after Saquon Barkley was amazing last year, and he deserved it. And they won the Super Bowl largely because of him. But he's 4th in carries this year. He's 15th in rushing yards. He's 100, well below 4 yards per carry. He has 4 touchdowns this year. They can't get him going at all. Like they just don't really have an identity anymore. They don't do the things that they have done historically. There's still all of December that we've seen teams be able to change it around, but like they're not playing well. They're not playing well. They have some decent passing numbers at times, but they're not playing well offensively.
Yeah. AJ Brown had a good game, so I'm sure he's happy. But other than that, not a lot going great in Philadelphia. But we'll see what happens. Let's move on, Kyle. Let's go to the game today: Texans Colts. The Texans pull off a huge victory here. This was a very competitive game. Colts at one point had a 4th down and 1 deep in Houston territory. There was a fumbled snap with Tyler Warren trying to take what looked like to be a touch push in that scenario. The Colts ended up down 4, were driving late. Ultimately, there was a drop pass by Josh Downs on 3rd down. On 4th down, they weren't able to convert. This Texans defense continues to just be incredible. And even in this game, when the Colts did make plays, it felt like they were like making these like superstar level plays just to get the ball down the field. Like Alec Pierce had a great catch. Josh Downs had a great catch, but I felt like they needed to be great in every situation. Running game not quite as effective against a good run defense, and the Houston Texans ultimately find a way to get a win here, even with maybe not their best offensive performance here because they don't have Davis Mills playing.
Yeah, not without him, of course. Look, I mean, the Colts, I thought, actually blocked this defensive line for Houston pretty well as far as pass protection goes. They didn't block the run very well, and Houston won that battle. And I think we said on Wednesday that feels like the battle and the war in this game. Like that's definitely the two sides of these teams that, Colts want to run. They want to use Jonathan Taylor a lot. They weren't really able to in this game. Houston played well in that. They were disciplined, and it just felt like the Colts couldn't put anything together. Like you said, Alec Pierce made a heck of a catch on the sideline for a touchdown. Warren made a couple catches in this game. But overall, like they just really couldn't sustain a lot of drives because they couldn't use that run game that they're so used to using all the time. And Texans were able to pull it out. This Texans defense, I mean, this is a poor man's Broncos this year, right? Like I think the defense could be even better, but the offense is worse. And that's kind of where this team is at. But they can beat anybody because this defense is so difficult to beat. There's just not a bad player on this team defensively.
And part of me is like, are they just the Broncos with a worse record?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, would you rather have Bo Nix or CJ Stroud right now?
I think CJ Stroud.
You sure? I mean,
no, I said I think.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel like Bo Nix is like higher ceiling, lower floor, even like in the middle of games. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I think they're weirdly. I don't think I have a too much of an opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'd rather live in like Arkansas or Iowa. Like I don't know.
Des Moines this time of year probably really nice. I don't know.
Sorry to any of our Arkansas or Iowa listeners.
Yeah. Look, I mean, yeah, I think this team is worse offensively than even Denver, and we just criticized Denver's offense, but defensively, they're arguably just as good, if not better. I mean, they don't let up. They're relentless. All of these guys come up and play big. And yeah, they were able to slow down Indianapolis at this point, who feels like they're reeling a bit. I don't think Daniel Jones played that bad in this game, but what we saw the first 6 weeks of the season with the Colts, I mean, it had to slow down eventually because, I mean, this offense, we could look at this offense and say it's not better than the 2007 Patriots. Like, that's fine. But it feels like it's slowed down a lot at this point, and they've lost 3 of their last 4.
Double whammy. I'm a Broncos fan in Iowa. Well, I'm sorry. That was uncalled for by me. I was wrong. I'm sure there's great places to live everywhere.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's move on. A handful of games left to discuss. Let's just talk about this one because it was actually a really fun game. The Saints Dolphins. Most of what we'll just talk about is the end game scenario where the Saints scored a touchdown down 8, so now they go for 2 to try and see if they can tie the game. It ends up getting intercepted and returned for a 2-point conversion the other way. Dolphins now have a 4-point lead. And you're kind of thinking, well, who cares? Because it's just an onside kick. Dolphins are going to run out the clock anyway. The Saints recovered the onside kick. It kind of looked like the Saints recovered it a half yard early, but the call stood, which Mike McDaniel was not thrilled with. But now, because of the 2-point conversion by Miami, they were up 4 instead of up 2. So even though the Saints got in field goal range, they had to go for a touchdown. Then Chris Olave dropped a pass in the end zone, had a chance to win it. Ultimately, the Miami Dolphins find a way to improve to 5-7, and in some people's mind, keep their playoff hopes alive.
In one person's mind. This was the dumbest game ever. I mean, like, this had to be... I mean, no, this isn't the dumbest game ever because we watched that Arizona lose to Tennessee game earlier in the season.
Right.
But this was up there for dumbest game ever. Watching the Saints pull off this comeback to then have the 2-point conversion return for a pick 2, if you will, and then recover the onside kick against all odds to then lose it on a drop touchdown followed by a quarterback sneak. I was just like, how anticlimactic is this? Like, come on now. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely absurd. This game meant absolutely nothing to me, but it ended up being the best game of the day in a lot of ways. Vele makes a incredible catch in the end zone to bring it to 19-17, and he recovered the onside kick. Just absurd overall. Miami is not fun to watch. That was my takeaway too.
Let's do the playoff roadmap, Kyle. Beat the Jets. Okay, now you're 6-7. Steelers on Monday Night Football. Why is that Monday Night Football? Steelers on Monday Night Football. Hey, Steelers are a team that you can beat. Steelers are up and down. Win that one. They got played the Bengals, which is also a primetime game. You can win that one. All of a sudden, you find yourself 8-7. Tampa Bay, they've been up and down this season. Get a win there. The Patriots, who will already have the 1 seed locked up. Boom, 10 wins. You're in.
So the roadmap to the playoff is win 3 games you are going to be listed as underdogs in. And then week 18, the Patriots have nothing to play for, so you win that way. No, that's a roadmap.
Let's move on, Kyle. 4 games left to discuss. Let's go Niners-Browns. 49ers pulling off a big win. Good offensive performance against a very good defense, still being able to put up 28 points. Myles Garrett did have 1 sack in this game. Kind of sometimes tough to bring down Brock Purdy. Shanahan tends to take away the best pass rusher, but Garrett was still able to get 1 to put himself kind of still on track to try and get the sack record here. That was the only sack, though, of the game for Cleveland. Good offensive performance here by them. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, the story, who I don't know what you're supposed to do in this situation. Like, the Browns, they don't have a lot going on. I didn't think Sanders was horrible. He made some plays he shouldn't have. He also made a couple of nice plays. I don't know.
He looked like a young quarterback still learning things, right? I mean, your teammates put the ball on the ground 4 times. That's something one guy having 3 fumbles in a game is a bit of a red flag for me. Gage Lavardian. We should probably work on that. Look, I mean, I thought he had some good plays, but like you said, there were some mistakes. He looked like a young quarterback. I still think there's higher ceiling stuff than we see from like Dylan Gabriel. Like, that's just kind of what I think. Like, he makes throws that Gabriel can't. And I thought he had some good plays in this game. And like you said, there were some bad plays. And yeah, The more interesting thing for me, the Browns, is the Myles Garrett thing, which, I mean, you said he still kept himself on track. He could take a nap the next few weeks on the field, and he'd still be on track to break the sack record. I mean, he's at 19 at this point. He is through 12 games. I think he's going to get it, but I want to see it happen. And then the 49ers, I thought, looked really good. They looked professional. They feel like they're making the playoffs at this point. Offense looked really good at times. I don't want to see a dance-off between Brock Purdy and Mac Jones ever, but I also might kind of want to see it. I don't know yet, but that was something.
Yeah, that was it. I don't know. I don't think Myles Garrett's a lock for getting the sack record. I think he's going to end up getting it because he's probably not going to try to do a single run move for the rest of the season. He's just going to try and pass rush every snap. But I mean, 4 sacks. He needs 4 sacks in 5 games. That is not like Garrett. That's kind of right around what his career average is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not guaranteed. He does play the Bengals at the end of the season, so.
Okay, it's guaranteed. Never mind. Take a nap. Yeah, can take a nap. No. But yeah, that is very fun. Very, very interesting. I guess the one thing I'll say about Shitter Sanders, can we open up the offense a little bit? Like, can we not throw screen passes on like half of his passes? Like, I just want to. We're starting him. You want to see what you have in him. You have 5 games left. Can we try and get some information here?
Yeah. And maybe they're just protecting him because this team is good. I know this San Francisco defense hasn't been very good lately, but like, it's still a tough team to play. You know, let's see Shedeur versus Cam next week in that game. I hope we see some downfield passing.
Yes, that could be very fun for right reasons or wrong reasons. We will see. Yeah, good one for the 49ers though. Again, doing what they have to do and winning this one.
Yeah, they're looking good. Like I said, the NFC playoff race is fascinating because, you know, that Cowboys team is playing really well, but San Francisco's playing just as well and still comfortably ahead at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, 3 games left. Let's go to the close game, I suppose. Jets beating the Atlanta Falcons, able to outlast Kirk Cousins, really able to outlast Bijan Robinson, who ends up having a crazy game, just shy of 200 total yards in this one, 6.2 yards per carry, also 10 yards per reception in this one. Despite that, the Jets were ultimately able to get the victory. Kyle, I'm sure you had a Donnie Mitchell. Hey, turns out getting that guy in the trade, maybe not a horrible idea. He has over 100 yards. Kyle, what were your thoughts here?
I didn't watch. I'll be honest.
This is not why is Nick Folk good? That's the most annoying thing in the world. He was so bad for the Buccaneers. Why is he like Scott Hansen on Red Zone? Like, Nick Folk, the best kicker in the league this year. I'm like, what do you mean, Nick Folk, the best kicker in the league? And he hits the 56-yarder to win it. He finally missed one, and it was like a mid-50s that he missed. That's infuriating.
Yeah. Should kickers not be MVP if Nick Folk is the best kicker in the league and the Jets only have 3 wins now?
That's a good point. That's well said, Kyle.
Yeah, that's my opinion. The Falcons are dumb. I mean, look, they played really well against the Saints last week. Take that with whatever you want, and they go and lay an egg here. Did not look too good, and I mean, I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah, okay, we can move on. It's fine. Sorry, Falcons and Jets. Good. I guess the one thing we'll say for the Jets, winning another game, I guess there's some hope for this team, right? Aaron Glenn was so criticized the first half of the season. I feel like we've kind of forgotten about him in a good way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think the defense has played well. Granted, one guy almost had 200 yards in this game. The defense has played well lately, better lately at the minimum. So I give him credit for that.
Starting a problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you just look at this team, though, like, you know, Breece Hall is not going to be on this team next season. I'm willing to bet that now. In like Adonai Mitchell, John Mechie, Jeremy Ruckert, Alan Lazard as your receivers. Mason Taylor has a little bit of something. Like, this team is going to be completely different in 2 to 3 years. So if Aaron Glenn's there, that's awesome for him, and I hope he is. And I hope for everyone's success in life. But this is going to be a whole different team when they're actually ready to start playing competitive football again. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Let's move on. Let's go to three blowouts here. I guess Raiders Chargers was probably the closest. This was a tie game at halftime, so there was that. Although even in that point, it never really felt like this was going to go the Raiders' way. It ultimately did not. Geno Smith only got sacked 5 times in this game, so that was an improvement. But kind of maybe the biggest story here is that Justin Herbert got banged up in this game. Now he says he's planning on playing next week, but he has an injured left hand, which is not his throwing hand, but that does impact how you grip the ball and everything. So there is something to that. This Raiders offense is horrible. It played horrible in this game, except for Brock Bowers. Again, this was one of those games of there is Max Crosby and Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers an amazing catch, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. Max Crosby 2 sacks, and nothing else good for the Raiders in their loss to the Chargers.
Yeah, this team stinks. They can't run. There was a point in this game where the rushing yards were like 180 to 20. And yeah, I think you can guess that the Raiders were on the wrong side of that.
Also, I have to just cut you off to say, and it ended 192 to 31. That, so it didn't it pretty much stayed there.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Bowers had some impressive plays. Look, the Chargers had 5 sacks in this game. 6 players were credited with at least half a sack. The Raiders had 3 sacks in this game, and 1 player was credited with 2 of them. So yeah, this Raiders team is not fun. They stink. I'm ready for this season to be over. This would be a sim to end a season team for me, for sure. This would probably be my round 1 pick 1 team for sim to end a season. If I were to have that power.
For what to end the season?
Just simulate the games at the end of the season.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Gotcha.
This would be my first overall pick.
I agree. I think so. Currently, the Raiders are looking to get the 4th overall pick in this upcoming draft. I think to have a chance to leapfrog a couple teams too.
There is a good chance of that, I think. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They're trending up in the wrong way. It is actually interesting though, the Herbert injury, because Tony Romo was talking about Rodgers, and one of the things I didn't really think about with this wrist injury is like handing off the football. You hand the football off with your weak hand. Mm-hmm. So like, especially going one way, you hand off with your weak hand. And so obviously that's going to play a factor in playing through that pain or adjusting your whole style. So how he manages that pain is definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah. Luckily you get the extra day to play Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. So 2 teams that kind of need a win. And then to play the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos. That is as tough of a final slate as you can get. You're playing good teams and good teams that are probably going to have something to play for. Yeah.
No, it's a tough slate. It really is. So, the Chargers still have an uphill battle, but like I said, it may not be enough, but if you just scrap your way to that 10th win, that really feels like it's going to be enough to get past Kansas City. Is enough to get past Houston too? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Speaking of draft position, that's what the Titans have going for them, losing 25-3, a weird score, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cam Ward coming off of a really good performance. Again, another one of those where just the numbers are abysmal, 141 yards on 38 attempts. Not ideal there. The Jaguars able to get a win. Kyle, I know you said you didn't watch much of the Jets Falcons, but I'm sure you were locked into this one.
I actually watched a little bit of this.
Okay, impressive.
And then I looked at it and I was like, wait, why am I watching a little bit of this? There was multiple plays in this game where Cam Ward threw a pass, like more than one, I should say, like as in multiple, where he threw a pass that looked perfect and hit his receiver in the chest and then just bounced off their chest. Like it's like they weren't even prepared to catch a pass. So I do feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. This is tough. And Jaguars, they did what they had to do. You got a good Trevor Lawrence game. You needed that. You needed a little bit of a bounce back for him. He still makes some wild decisions sometimes, but it was still good enough. And, we didn't really talk about with the Colts-Texans game. The Jacksonville Jaguars are winning this division all of a sudden. It looks like the Colts are going to run away with it. And all of a sudden, there's 3 teams within a game of each other in the AFC South. This division, it quickly has become the most fascinating in football, with all due respect to the NFC South.
Yes, please.
there are 3 teams within a game of each other. There are 3 teams multiple games over 500. Jaguars, this defense puts them in the mix for sure. They are still formidable. They can run the ball. Trevor Lawrence still can make the wow plays, even though he makes the cringeworthy plays, and then the defense makes a bunch of plays. So
Yeah,
they play the Colts twice here to end the year, and it's interesting.
in one of those games this upcoming week. So should be fascinating. Jacoby Myers, 90 yards in this one. That trade seems to be working out well for them so far. So yeah, interesting stuff there. Let's move on, Kyle. Final game to discuss. And Vikings fans might be happy we saved this for last. So Vikings just when Carson Wentz was in there, we're saying, okay, how much worse can it be putting JJ McCarthy? And it turns out it could get worse. And then Vikings fans said, okay, well, how much worse could it be if you put Max Brosmer in here? Ends the day with 126 yards on 30 attempts, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But other than that, it was okay.
The funny thing is I actually thought Carson Wentz played good this season.
He was up and down.
It was up and down for sure, but it was better than what they had.
Yes, Carson Wentz has been the best quarterback to play for the Vikings, but that is not a high bar to clear.
So the funny thing is I actually thought he started this game okay. Granted, he started like 8 of 12 for like 55 yards, so it's not like that amazing, but like it looked like safe, and he looked like he could like handle the situation. And then they had that ridiculous, he rolls out of the pocket, tries to make something happen, and then pitches it right to Ernest Jones, and Ernest Jones takes it all the way to the house for a touchdown when a 91-yard interception return. And then it didn't look good after that. He struggled. I mean, it got so bad to the point his 4th interception was fumbled by Seattle and recovered by Minnesota. And you're like, he's probably going to throw a 5th one at this point. And he didn't throw the 5th one, credit to him. But it didn't look good after that. It just felt like all the confidence, all like the energy just was sucked out of that. And yeah, I think Seattle was sleepwalking through this game beyond that.
Yeah, I would say Kevin O'Connell, I think we all think is a very good head coach, and don't put this season on him too much. Like I would say maybe on 4th and 1, either kick the field goal with your 3rd string rookie quarterback, or maybe just run the ball in that scenario. Like I get that you have a play called, and also the play call just didn't work at all. Again, Max Brosmer was in a tough situation. Now, what you don't do in that situation is just flip it to a defender. But like he was in a tough situation that I can empathize a bit here. I guess the one thing I will say is this Seahawks offense did not put in the kind of performance you would like. In the first half they had 6 offensive points, ended with 26. But again, there was nothing going for Minnesota. Literally nothing. The Seahawks defense scored more than the Vikings offense did in this game. So yeah, I mean, you would have liked a little bit more, I think, from the Seahawks offense, and I guess give credit to the Vikings defense for playing well.
I mean, yeah, look, they scored 1 offensive touchdown, and I mean that play too that led to the pick 6 was set up because Sam Darnold put the ball on the ground again. He didn't get stripped, and it set up the Vikings with a short field at the 13-yard line. That was the 4th and 1 play at the 4. But yeah, I think. I generally think a game is lost when a quarterback blindly flips the ball up in the air and then it ends up right in the hands of a defender for a 91-yard touchdown. So yeah, I think it's tough.
Win percentage probably isn't great in that scenario. Kyle, let me know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grana, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline podcast. It should be available there. So, Kyle, I use just Google for my the box score up when we do these podcasts. I just looked lower, and it says people also ask. There's that Google thing. The number 1 people also ask for NFL scores, which I searched, is can you wear 69 in the NFL? Why is that the next thing? NFL scores, and then can you wear 69 in the NFL?
That is an interesting question.
Why would the answer be no? Why would that not be allowed?
Well, the NBA kind of pseudo banned it at one point.
Oh, did they?
Well, for a while you could only do numbers that you had for fingers, and then they changed that because it was stupid. And then Dennis Rodman tried to wear 69. and David Stern had to step in and say, no, don't do that. And so I don't think anyone's had 69 cents, but leave it to Dennis Rodman to get it pseudo banned.
Okay, well, that's why you go to on the Sideline podcast. You never know what fun facts we will leave you with. Any other final thoughts, Kyle? Or ready to get out of here?
No, let's get out of here.
Yeah, again, fun show. We'll be back Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern to preview week 14 now. We're getting down to it here. Very fun stuff. But yeah, again, that's our show. Thank you to everybody for watching or listening. See you on Wednesday. And until then, have a good one.
Peace.